The guard at the Caelian Gate had seen everything Rome could send at him. But not this. A soldier, barely standing, sandals reduced to rags. He reached into the leather sole of his shoe and pulled out a small tablet. He had been walking for 40 days. That tablet was the only reason why. 105 AD. Emperor Trajan has launched his second war against the kingdom of Dacia. Dacia, modern Romania, was the wealthiest kingdom Rome had ever fought. Its king, Decebalus, had spent a generation hiding something extraordinary. Not armies, not weapons, the largest gold reserves in the ancient world. Trajan needed that gold. Rome was building faster than it could afford. The Forum, the Column, 300 miles of new roads from the Adriatic east. But the gold had to be found first. And Decebalus was not telling anyone. Rome had a system for moving information across the empire, the cursus publicus. A chain of relay stations spaced 25 miles apart across every province. Fresh horses, food, a travel warrant called a diploma, signed by the emperor. With that system running, a message could travel 500 miles in a day. On paper, it was the most efficient communication network in history. In Dacia in 105 AD, it had almost completely broken down. Dacian raiders had burned the road stations. Trajan had taken every horse for the campaign. That is where one Roman soldier entered the story. His name was Marcus. Rank, miles gregarius, the lowest officer grade. Age, mid-20s. Role, carry things. He was called to the legate's tent. On the table, a single wax tablet. Bronze hinges. No markings. The legate told him what was inside. The location of Decebalus's treasury. An informant, a Dacian nobleman, had revealed it in exchange for his life. The intelligence was worth more than a full legion. It had to reach Rome immediately. Marcus had one question. When do I leave? The legate said, right now. His diploma was signed by Trajan himself. Get this man anything he needs. At the first road station south of camp, Marcus handed over the diploma. The station master read it carefully, then handed it back. Every horse in this station is assigned to the 14th Legion. I have nothing for you. Second station, same answer. Third station, same answer. The cursus publicus had not failed. It had been redirected entirely toward the war effort. There were no horses left for one courier with one tablet. He could wait for the campaign to end, or the intelligence about the treasury would expire. Decebalus would move the gold. The opportunity was measured in weeks, not months. Marcus calculated the route. South through the Balkans, west along the Via Egnatia. Across the Adriatic, north through Italy to Rome, 1,200 miles. He walked. The first 10 days were manageable. Roman roads through Thrace were in solid repair. He covered 25 to 30 miles each day. Showed his diploma at each mancio. Got a bed, a meal, sometimes a mule for a rough stretch. The system, barely, was working. Then he reached the mountain passes of northern Macedonia. 2 roads. One choice. Option 1, the Via Egnatia, the main road. Fast, well-lit, and heavily used. Problem, well patrolled by whose soldiers? Auxiliary units in the region were mixed. A diploma from the Dacian theater meant nothing to every checkpoint in Macedonia. Option 2, the mountain track through Macedon. Longer, rougher, almost no checkpoints. This was the first real decision. Fast road with unknown gates. Slow road with none. He chose the slow road. The mountain track. 3 extra days for no interruptions. Day 11. The mountain route added days and nearly took his life in exchange. Snow began to fall. Not a dusting. A serious alpine freeze at 6,000 feet. His military sandals, Caelian, were not designed for this terrain, or this weather. He wrapped his feet in strips cut from his spare tunic. Kept moving anyway. The message could not wait for the weather to change. So neither could he. On day 14, he descended into the city of Thessaloniki, 600 miles from where he started. Roughly halfway, his sandals were gone. He had 4 days of food tokens left. Tesserae fermentarii, the Roman soldiers' currency, on the road. You exchange them at mancio kitchens for a meal and a bed. No tokens, no food, no shelter. Marcus traded his belt knife, the only personal item he still carried, for more tokens. He also traded his military cloak for a civilian one. This decision was more calculated. A Roman soldier in full kit, moving fast through a city, draws eyes. Draws questions. Questions meant delays. Delays meant Decebalus had more time to move the gold. He was no longer just running a message. He was starting to think like a spy. From Thessaloniki, he found a merchant ship crossing the Adriatic. 3 days at sea. He slept in a cargo net on the deck. Hard to rob a man sleeping inside a net. He arrived in Brundisium, modern Brindisi, on the southern tip of Italy. Day 22. 400 miles left. He was 11 days ahead of the schedule he'd set himself. Here, in Italy, the cursus publicus was fully operational. Fresh horses, real mansions. All he had to do was show his diploma, and he would ride the rest of the way to Rome. At the Mancio in Venusia, the station master was cooperative. Unusually cooperative. He offered to personally review the dispatch, just to confirm its urgency, for priority horses. Marcus had spoken with dozens of station masters. None of them had ever asked to read the message. Somebody had told this man to look for a courier from the Dacian campaign. Who? It didn't matter. The intelligence about the treasury had enemies. That was enough. Marcus thanked the man warmly. Said the dispatch was sealed by the legate. Untouchable. He accepted a meal and a bed. Left at the 3rd hour of the night. On foot again. He had horses available and chose not to use them. The risk of being followed was too high. And here is the part that sounds like a story but is documented Roman military practice. He removed the wax tablet from its wooden frame, folded it inside a lead sheet. Then he cut open the leather sole of his left caliga and slid the lead sheet inside. He stitched the sole back together with cord from his pack. Put the sandal back on. The message was now inside his shoe. The wooden frame he buried by the road. This technique, hiding dispatches in sandal soles, appears in Frontinus' Stratagems. 1st century AD. Not a spy thriller. A Roman military training manual. He reached Rome on foot. No diploma visible. The message was in his shoe. The gate guard asked for his papers. Marcus showed his unit number, Legio 13 Gemina, Dacia. They sent for an officer. The officer sent for a tribune. The tribune opened a door. A Fromentarius, a military intelligence officer, walked out and looked at Marcus once. Marcus took off his left sandal, cut the stitches, peeled back the sole. He handed over the lead sheet. Day 39, 1200 miles. Done. The Fromentarius unfolded it. Read it. Said nothing for a long moment. Then he looked up and said 2 words that Marcus would remember for the rest of his life. Well done. The treasury location was relayed to Trajan's command within 48 hours. In 106 AD, Roman engineers diverted the Stray River near Sarmizegetusa, the Dacian capital. Under the riverbed, 165 tons of gold, 330 tons of silver, the royal treasury of Dacia. Cassius Dio, writing a century later, called it one of the largest hauls in Roman history. The war ended within months. Decebalus, cornered, took his own life. The gold was transported to Rome in a procession that lasted 3 full days. Trajan then did something unusual for a Roman emperor. He spent almost all of it. The Forum of Trajan, completed 113 AD, was the largest and most expensive Rome had built. Trajan's Column, still standing in Rome today, was funded by the same treasury. Hadrian's Pantheon, built on the same architectural contracts, traces the same gold. And what about Marcus? The records don't say. Military couriers weren't carved in stone. He presumably returned to his legion, completed his service, received his land grant. 25 years of service, then a discharge and a small plot of land. The Roman deal. He may have been in Rome when Trajan's column went up in 113 AD. The column shows 155 carved scenes of the Dacian campaigns. Soldiers, rivers, forts. No courier. No wax tablet. No sandal with a message sewn into the sole. That's not how Rome told its stories. It told them in marble, in triumph, in emperors' names. The people who made the marble possible were rarely the ones carved into it. The cursus publicus could move a message 500 miles in a day. It was one of the great engineering achievements of the ancient world. And it failed completely the moment the conditions required it most. Because infrastructure doesn't run on roads. It runs on shared authority. The system works when every station master agrees on whose diploma is valid. The moment that breaks, war, chaos, competing priorities, the network goes silent. What doesn't stop is the person who decides the message still has to get through. Marcus wasn't a hero in the Roman sense. No triumph, no column, no inscription. He was a soldier doing a job past the point where the job was supposed to be possible. He walked 1,200 miles because the system ran out of horses. That was the whole reason. The gold he found, or rather, the location he carried, built what still stands today. If you had been Marcus, would you have waited for a horse? Tell me in the comments.